Hello and welcome to the Abundant Priestess channel, where we explore deeper themes of life through the mystic lens, activate our intuition and abundance frequency, and then really learn to use these concepts as actual tools for navigating our own lives as effortlessly as possible. And we want to earn an abundant income doing what we love, right? So it's been a while since I made a video. I'm Anuka for those of you who are joining for the first time, and for those of you who are back, welcome back. I have been doing some inner work, working on some creative projects, and then I was preparing to make a really major move in my life, so that's why I haven't filmed in a while. But this video marks the beginning of a whole new journey for me, so I'm excited to share with you that I have moved out of New York. I put all my things into storage a few weeks ago, and I am currently on the road visiting with some family, but I am leaving the country soon, and I'm going to do a whole round the world trip. I'm still working online doing the tarot readings on online psychic platforms. So it's been a really abundant income. And now I just want to, enjoy the fruits of my labor and be able to enjoy this career that I've built for myself and just be in the flow and be in, divine magical flow traveling. It's such a good place to be in. This is actually my comfort zone because for those of you who know me from before, I was nomadic for 14 years before I moved to New York. So the move to New York was actually the bigger risk, I would say, or it felt like a scarier risk having a $22,000 rent commitment for the year and, everything that else was involved with moving to a major city like that. So that felt like a huge risk. And this traveling journey actually feels just very natural and comfortable for me. So I'm embracing it. But I wanted to make this video to really connect with you guys about the energy of taking a big risk in life or making a major move on something that you've been feeling that you wanted to do, but you've been doubting yourself or questioning yourself, or you're not sure if it's the right time. And so I want to get into kind of the groundwork that was laid in my process of making this transition and in making the decision in the first place, and just feeling into what is really an intuitive calling, versus what is something that is a construct of the mind, logical process or something that we think we should be doing, or fear, doubt, telling us that we can't achieve that thing or that we shouldn't go for that thing. So, I really personally believe that intuition is somewhere existing between the mind and the heart. So if we were completely living in the woo-woo realm, in the total mystic realm, and there are people that do that and they probably get it around just fine. I'm sure they do, actually. I've met a lot of them, our rainbow friends. But yeah, to be completely in the woo-woo realm can be extremely ungrounding when existing in society. Yes, it can be very grounding when living with nature and natural rhythms and elements and things. But yeah, we live in this 3D world where we have to be able to, make money, and we have to be able to provide for ourselves and, have a roof over our head. And if we want to live comfortable lives, right? So I want to go into how to trust your intuition, how to also build courage and faith to be able to make a major move that you want to make in life. And yeah, I want to inspire you to take that trip, start that business, reach out to that person that's been on your mind for years. Take a risk and put yourself out there. Be willing to be vulnerable and just say to the universe, hey, I'm just going to try this and see what happens, And usually I can nearly promise you any major risk that you're taking in life is not likely to lead you down a horrible road or a crash and burn. I think that when we make leaps of faith, on faith and on our intuition and from something that our heart truly desires, I think universe really steps in and, cultivates at least the scenario to help us along, or to gently let us down if it didn't work out as we had planned, or to redirect us into a new pathway that, leads us to even more amazing and beautiful experiences and people and things. And, that's how life really works, I think, is that we're all just experiencing these clues along the path too. Intuitive impulses many times work like that. Sometimes you start on a journey and then you divert, or it leads you to another road, or something breaks and you have to reconstruct it. And you end up arriving to something that is totally better, totally more beautiful than you ever imagined. I think there's a quote like that about, it's like, oh, you have a dream, like God has something so much better than that dream in store for you. That's obviously not the exact quote, but it's something like that, right? Like anything that you think that can happen or anything that you dream up, it's like universe has something so much better for you. That's how I have experienced a lot of my life. And I really sense I was like, I would say, yeah, it started when I was 18, when I first like had the desire to move out west. And it felt risky at that time, but I had this feeling like I had to be there, and I trusted that. When I wanted to travel for the first time, I really had this desire to travel, and I was scared, and had so many people talking against me, like about what was possible, or like, and yeah, people were really afraid for me too. And it was a different time back then. It was 2011. It was not as common for young people, especially a young woman, to be traveling by herself. And I just had this feeling my life has just evolved beyond my wildest dreams, just because I followed my intuition. I didn't know where it was leading to, but magical things happened. So, and on this channel, I'll share my stories along the way. But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how to make an intuitive choice, and also how to make a major change in your life, because there are so many of us that like have everybody in every one of us has things that we want to change, but we have resistance, and we have doubts and fears. So the first thing that I want to touch on is that I really believe that with great risk comes great reward, and the greater the risk, the greater the reward, really. So if you are playing it safe in life, and you are comfortable, and you're not really experiencing a whole lot of change, or if you notice that a lot of the changes in your life are happening to you as opposed to things that you actually initiated, that is very much a sign that you are holding back on your true potential in life, or you're and it could be a phase that you're going through too. But if most of your life has been like this, like things happening to you, there it's very likely that you are inhibiting yourself from thinking and believing in yourself, to being able to achieve some things that could be really, really beneficial, that could lead you to huge success and love and community. You have to be able to put yourself out there and take a risk and take that leap of faith in the first place, or else you're just playing it safe in life. And safety is an illusion, by the way. Like anything can happen anywhere. That job that feels so secure to you, even though you wanted to start that side business, could very well at some point, you might not have that job anymore, and it might be a shock. I actually believe that when things happen in our lives, when they happen to us, it's usually universe stepping in, like, hey, you got to make that change. So people when they get fired and they come to me for readings, the first thing I tell them is that there is a blessing for you around the corner. Like getting fired is one of the biggest blessings that you can have, because we work, maybe at the very minimum 20, maybe 40 hours a week. Maybe a lot of people work more than that. So we're dedicating like half of our lives, because we sleep another, of that same amount, and then we're doing other things in another like third of our timing. But like that's like 1/3 of our entire lives basically is work, 8 out of 24 hours, right? So if we're unhappy with our jobs, like that is the number one thing that could like just change the way that we value our lives altogether, right? So yeah, with great risk comes great reward. So another thing that I wanted to share with you guys is that I really believe that when you ask for a message, or you ask for a sign, or you ask for, usually messages and signs, because if you can ask for other things, you can definitely like manifest things into reality, but signs specifically are so easy for the universe to orchestrate, because the thing is, they're already there, they're already happening at any given moment. But our consciousness is taking in so many different things, so many different stimuli, and and just like our senses are on overload all the time. So it can be sometimes hard, or you have to really be open and like open up your energy to seeing the signs and to receiving messages, or have an open ear for that, you know, message that's coming through on the music in the distance. So signs are happening through numbers, symbols, repetitive themes, patterns, you know, messages that we're receiving even through people that are consistent or, you know, frequent in a short period of time. So in order to open us up to these signs, we have to first be willing to receive them, and we can ask for them too. So I asked for a sign 2 years ago. I had moved to New York and I was going to finish out the lease, and I thought, oh God, like, cause I hadn't quite settled into the city yet, and I had started a business, but it wasn't fully taking off yet. And so I thought, okay, before the business gets too big, or before, before I get like too settled into New York, I kind of want to go traveling for a while. But so when that lease was ending, like 2 months before that, I had asked the universe, please give me a sign. If I'm supposed to be in New York for another year and postpone the travel, then give me a sign, you know, let me. And I actually asked for a very specific sign. I said, if I get a booking for next year for my business, then I'll stay, because then I have something to do. Cause, you know, like one booking was a lot. Like I did a psychic readings at a wedding, a bridal shower or wedding reception, something like that. And it was, you know, it was going to be good income. So it would have been worth it to stay, because it wasn't like it was like $30. It was like, you know, $800 or something. So I'm like, that's a little something. And just the whole energy of it, like it was a sign. The fact that I asked for a sign and then I got a booking literally like a week later made me feel like, okay, even though it's not like I needed that specific money, I could make more, like even, you know, in a weekend working online, but it still, it was just like so synchronistic. I asked for the sign, I got the sign. So I decided to stay. This year, I just started, I forget what sign I asked for, but I did get a sign about the traveling specifically. And it all just seemed to align. So ask for signs from the universe, and you know, universe will show you what you should be doing and the timing that you should be doing it too. Because I also really believe that there is a right place and a right time for everything. And actually, I really believe in like infinite timelines and possibilities that somehow exist in this quantum reality. Hard to conceive, but or conceptualize. But I do believe that we have so many possibilities, and so we can access highest timelines by being, first of all, intuitive, and also being trusting, and then also just like, yeah, moving by what our desires are too, and like what our heart is calling for, but also what like our actual senses are picking up on too. So there's all these ways that we can tap into timing, but right place, right time. So if you're thinking about making a move, you know, start to take some baby steps in the direction of the thing that you want to do. Or if you have options, then start to make baby steps in each direction and see what the universe is supporting. But yeah, ask for signs, ask for clues for your path. Everything that we do in life, everything that we take in as information is all just a clue on the path. So, oh yeah. So I already said it, but my other tip for learning to like use your intuition and for making a big major change in your life is to experiment with your options. So yeah, starting to make moves, universe will let you know what is in support and what is you're going to be hitting roadblocks, you know, every step of the way. Because usually if something is already starting off in a good flow, you know, usually it's going to continue in that pattern. If you are getting signs right from the start that something is not really working for you, you know, then trying to work against it. You know, have you ever tried, I'm sure we all get in these things where we're like trying to do something on our phone and it's just not working. Like the phone is glitching, or, you know, we tried to purchase this flight and it's not working. And then, you know, 2 days later we look at our bank statement and we bought 2 flights or something, or something. Or 2 days later you find out that, you know, something was off, or you couldn't take that trip anyway and you would have had to ask for a refund. So there's all these ways that the universe will show you when something is either working out or potentially not going to work out in the highest way, or in the way that you like had originally intended. So the only way to really know like what is in support is if you're experimenting. And I personally like to kind of like, I mean, in my life, I like to Goldilocks, as I call it, different things. Like if I have options for chairs to sit in, I'll sit in different chairs, or I'll put the camera in different angles. I like to try out everything and see what feels intuitively like a yes. And as I say often, if it's not a clear yes, then it's a no, or it's a no for right now. So yeah, experiment with life, and also just have fun with life. Like be creative, be passionate, be childlike, see what feels inspiring, see what feels, what gives you, what really fuels your heart and spirit, and move towards that. And then if universe says yes, it's a go. Like there's going to be other blessings on that path. Continue on that path, follow it, and don't look back. So yeah, and my next tip for making a major decision in your life. So make a plan, or make a tentative plan, really is what it is. Make a tentative plan and then just stick with it until you get that clue or that interference or something from the universe that says no, or, second guess, or, look in another direction, or pivot, or, whatever it is. So make a plan and stick with it. So in the example of this trip that I took and putting my things into storage, I had this general plan, like I would say 6 to 8 months ago. I've had this plan since I moved into this apartment, because I thought, okay, at the end of this lease, I'm definitely going to go traveling. And so I had this plan. And towards the last few months, people would ask me about it, like, oh, so where are you going to go travel to? And then I would, regurgitate, oh, I'm planning to do spring in South America, Europe in the summer, and fall and winter in Asia. And I would just tell people, and they'd be like, oh my God, are you excited? Are you excited? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I'm just like, I made this plan, so I'm just going with it. And of course, now that I'm actually on the road, I feel so aligned. I feel so much lighter, not, having my place, even though all my stuff is in storage. I just have a few belongings, and I just feel really good about it. But leading up to that decision, leading up to the actual move, it was pretty much just a tentative decision the whole time. I thought, okay, if I get some other random sign, not a booking, because I didn't want to like spend a whole year, just because of a booking again, but for the business I was building, but just, any sign. Like I was like, if my family needs me, or if something happens, or if I fall in love in New York, or who knows, like if something happens to interfere with my plan, then I will do it. But otherwise, this is the plan, and I'm just going with it. So having tentative plans can also feel relieving, because it's like you said you're going to do it, and now you're going to most likely follow through. It's kind of like if you write something down, then you're most likely going to do it, or you are more likely to do it than if you just have it up in your head, all these balls of ideas and to-do lists and stuff that we have in our minds. Something happens faster if it's written down, and that's been like scientifically proven. So also making your plan to travel, for example, or making your plan to make a move, or making your plan to start a business and launch on this date, whatever this, risk is that you are thinking about taking, just plan for it and then see what happens. And, it's not the worst thing in the world if you make a plan and then something else, comes in and postpones it, or there's a delay, or, or maybe it doesn't happen, but it leads you to some other amazing avenue, of opportunity in your life, just like another clue on your path. So we can never really judge the intuitive impulses that we have, or the intuitive insights that we have, because they're feelings that are connected with higher frequencies and higher, higher energies. And we never know what they're going to lead to. So make a plan, follow through with it until something happens. And it's just a lot less pressure that way too, if you can like go about it with flexibility, not just thinking like, oh, I said it, so I have to do it. Just see how you feel. Okay, my last tip I want to share with you guys is just don't take life so seriously. Have fun with it. I have had so many amazing experiences in life by taking these big risks or leaps of faith, and just not really like being so afraid of even the worst possible outcome. Why am I thinking income? I was thinking because I was about to tell you about New York. Like, one thing was I was actually really scared to move to New York because I thought, okay, I've lived this very free life, you know. I live in Airbnbs. They're not cheap, but you know, like in other countries you can get a good deal. You know, I was living nomadically, and for some people that might feel like the bigger risk, but no, moving to New York, it was like I had this huge rent to be responsible for, and then, you know, your job is never guaranteed. So like, what was I going to do? I'd have to start waitressing or doing some other kind of work that probably wasn't fully aligned with what I really love doing, which is what work I'm doing now. But anyway, I was just scared. It's like, oh, what if I lose my job? What if I this? What if I that? What if, you know, what if? And then I just thought, okay, what if the worst case scenario happens? What if somebody gets sick at home and I can't live in New York? You know, what is the worst possible situation? I have to terminate my lease, so then I have to spend, I don't know how much it is to cancel a lease, $13,000 or something crazy. Okay, that would suck for sure. But at least I would be able to get out of there, you know, because I had a savings. Or what if, you know, there were just so many things. Yeah, what if I lost my job? I'd have to get a serving job. I was just thinking, like, what if I spent all my money? What if all my money was gone because I had, you know, like a couple tens of $1,000s in savings or something? Like, what if that just went to nothing and I was living like a broke bitch after all of these years of living my most abundant life? I was just so scared to lose out, or to, you know, have the worst thing happen. But it all worked out. So at the end of the day, nothing's really that bad unless you're risking your life. And even in that way, you know, it's like somebody might argue that we're risking our lives every time we get in the car, every time we get on an airplane, every time you know, do a risky sport that you love doing. Or, you know, there's so many ways that we are already taking huge risks. And like I said, it also, like, security is not guaranteed. Security is really an illusion. And, you know, it's a feeling that we can create and cultivate in our lives. But at the end of the day, it's just a feeling. It's not actual protection. You know, well, kind of. I'm woo-woo-y. I'm like, we can protect ourselves with our ancestors. You know, I really, really do believe that. But at the end of the day, yeah, like, I could die tomorrow. I've lived a very full life, and I'm glad that I took so many risks. I would never be here today if I didn't trust myself from the very beginning and trust that inner part of me, which said, go, take that trip, travel, like, you know, live your best life, enjoy. Everything's going to be okay. The money will be there. You know, and so I've been really working at this to build up the abundance frequency. Part of having an abundant mindset is not taking life too seriously and feeling that everything will always work out and rebalance itself. And so in that mindset, no risk is too great. And as well, greater the risk, the greater the reward. So I hope this video helped you to just feel inspired and excited about any kind of decisions or, you know, creative projects or risky endeavors that you have been thinking about taking, and inspires you also to connect more with your spirit, activate your intuition and your abundance mindset, and just feel powerful, feel motivated because you feel just guided by something higher outside of yourself, but that's also existing within you, you know, like you're connected with it. Feel that universe would never send you a clue to follow on the wrong path. That intuitive feeling that you have to take the risk or to, you know, make that investment, that's universe letting you know, hey, I got you. I got something good for you over here. You know, just make this move, write this letter, you know, do this thing, call this person, reach out, you know, ask for that sign. I got them for you. So yeah, blessings to everyone. I will be updating you on my journey. Next video I make will probably be from Brazil. So that's going to be my first stop in the beginning of April. And yeah, I'm just so happy and blessed to be sharing with you guys again. Thank you for being here. If you stayed to the end, please like and subscribe, and have a blessed week.